Hello and welcome to this Careerpilot webinar, which gives you an introduction to Careerpilot and how you can use it in your school or college as part of your careers programme. We're going to have a look today at how you can use Careerpilot to help young people to explore and manage their career choices and pathways, to support students at each level of your school or college as part of your strategic careers plan, and we'll touch on how this also helps to meet the Gatsby benchmarks. The agenda for this session is to start with just having a broad look at the careers landscape and how this is changing, how we want to make sure that we're preparing our students to be career ready. We'll look at what Careerpilot is and how it can support a whole school approach to careers provision. We'll then look at each of the zones on Careerpilot. So we'll look at the student zone, the advisor and reporting zone, which are used by the schools and teaching staff, and then the parent zone, which you can share with parents and carers to help them to support their young people at home with making their choices and about their next steps. We will then look at the Pathway Planner tool, which can be purchased as a separate addition to Careerpilot and can support with Gatsby 8, supporting meeting the needs of individuals and helping to give them the correct provision for personal guidance. So starting off with thinking about the careers landscape, obviously things are changing. We're all very aware of this. In the past, it used to be much more of a kind of a linear, step-by-step approach to careers. Students would be thinking about a job that they want to move into, which they would progress through over the years. Today's landscape is a much more squiggly careers approach. So students may well be having many jobs within their lifetime. In fact, those students that are born after 2002 are very likely to live to 100, potentially having up to 17 jobs and several careers across their lifetime. So we need to make sure that students are prepared for managing this more squiggly careers journey and having the skills and the tools that they need to adapt to the changing landscape. We know that the growth and automation is changing the jobs that existed traditionally. So there are lots of jobs that are either in decline or growing, or indeed new jobs that are coming onto the landscape. Where the jobs are going to be in the future in particular are in these sectors. So we know that there's a growth within the medical, health, science and care sector, digital and IT, and engineering, construction, and also those environmental and green jobs. Looking at the Careerpilot site as a whole, I mentioned there are 4 zones. So there's the student zone, which the students can access directly and they own their own account. And then for schools can access the reporting zone and the advisor zone to access tools, resources, teaching activities that they can use across the school and college. And then there's also a parent zone as well. And as I mentioned, there's also the Pathway Planner tool, which can be purchased as an additional element to the Careerpilot offer. So I mentioned it really supports that whole school approach, but it puts the student right at the heart of managing their own careers. As I mentioned, they own their own account with Careerpilot. But then we have support for students from years 7 onwards, and support for the careers leader to have that whole school approach. It very much follows a 3-stage process using Careerpilot. So it's about preparing young people to really think about themselves, their interests, their values, really getting to know themselves, then thinking about what their options are and finding out more information about the different pathways that they could pursue, and then making an action plan and supporting them to take those next steps. So we have support for the careers leader, as I mentioned, but also we have activities that can be run in tutor time, in PSHE sessions. We also have support for subject teachers with subject-specific resources, as well as that support for careers advisors to do some pre and post work around personal guidance sessions, and also for parents and carers. And the Pathway Planner, as I mentioned, really supports that personal guidance, supporting around post 16 and 18 options for year 11 and 12. So in terms of how Careerpilot is funded, we have a free to use area. So any schools or colleges that are sitting within this dark green area have free access to all 4 zones of Careerpilot. This is funded by a group of universities and UniConnects. And any of those schools can then choose to purchase Pathway Planner, which they can have as an addition to their free access to the 4 zones. Schools outside of that area will subscribe to Pathway Planner and to Careerpilot, the 4 zones, to have that full access. And you can see the costs there. And I'll give details at the end of this session of how you can get in touch to set up a subscription. So if I take you through each of the zones, starting with the student zone. So the student zone is the main website where students come to access information and advice on their different choices and find out more about careers they're interested in. Students register at the top right-hand corner of the homepage. It just takes a couple of minutes. And when they're registered, that allows them to then start building up their own personalised career tools. They can also create a report with the school that they can access from their career tools, but you can also access through the reporting zone. So you can also toggle through to the advisor zone or the parent zone from the main home page in the student zone. So you can see that the top of the page there, you can access the advisor zone or the parent zone directly. For students, though, when they go through to the main homepage, they can easily access information about jobs, courses, providers, qualifications. They can access videos from employers or students talking about different pathways from the top there. Or they can go through the 3-stage process I mentioned before. So there are activities and resources to support them to find out more about themselves, to explore their options and to plan their next steps. Equally, if they know a pathway that they want to find out more about, they can jump straight through to it from the bottom there. So if they know they want to find out about A-levels, there's easy access to information about A-levels just from the bottom there. So I mentioned about student registration. This is the student registration form that they have to fill in that's accessed from the top right-hand corner of the homepage. It only takes a few minutes to complete, so it's just asking for their top line details in terms of their name and email address. But please do make sure that they select your school from the drop-down list when they register. That makes sure that their personal account is linked to your school account, so you will be able to then access data on how they're using the site through the reporting zone. So as they're using Careerpilot, they're having the option to tag anything they're interested in. So if they're looking at the animal sector, for example, for jobs, they could just add that to their job sectors. And then that's going to show up in their dashboard when they come into the site next time. And you can also see what they're interested in from the reporting zone. So you can see there, it's just populating their job sectors that they've tagged. And also it's making a note of any job profiles they've viewed as well. So they can come back and look at them again at a later date. So I mentioned there are 3 stages of career decision making that they can work through. So there's the start with you, which is lots of activities to help them really think about their own interests and values, and just to give them a starting point for exploring where those might take them. They can then look at their actual options, and we've got those sorted by post 14 options, 16 options, 18 options, or they can select individual pathways from there to find out more about. And then there's the planning their next steps, so which gives them opportunity to really think about what actions they want to put into place and to really make a start in formulating a plan for their career next steps. Okay, so just starting with you, there are lots of different activities in the Start With You. The job sector quiz is really popular with students. This is a really simple quiz where students answer a set of questions and it matches them up with a job sector and several other job sectors, in fact, about 4 job sectors that meet what the things that they're interested in. So it opens up some different sort of industry sectors that they might want to explore further. So it's not specific jobs, but it's job sectors that it's matching them up with. They might also be interested in exploring where a particular subject that they're interested in might take them. So this is a really, again, very popular part of the site. So students can choose a subject that they're already studying at school that they enjoy and see where that might take them. So if they're interested in computing, They can click on there and they can find out a selection of jobs that are related to computing, but also they can see examples of vocational courses at college that they might think about, degree courses at university, and also examples of apprenticeships that relate to that particular subject. So it's just opening up lots of different opportunities that they might be interested in terms of future pathways related to their favourite subject. Another section that we've added in the last year is starting with their values and strengths, which is, again, a really great way in to explore different jobs and job sectors. So if you've got a student that's really has a strong passion for preventing climate change, for example, they can find different jobs and courses relating to that particular value. So there are lots of different values and strengths on there that students can explore, and a really great way into looking at some different jobs that connect to some of those passions and strengths. We also have a skills profile that students can complete. So again, this is a really handy and really easy to access quiz. So it takes them through just asking a set of questions and helps the student to identify the skills that they are building in different aspects of their life, whether it's through school or whether it's through hobbies or interests outside of school. So this is creating a skills profile that they can then use to populate different examples of where they've been building those skills. They can add their own examples as well as having those that have been identified through the quiz. And then these are all just being logged and banked for future. So when they want to apply for a college course or a job further down the line, they can come back and have a look at these examples of where they've been demonstrating these skills and use those in their application. They can also on here look at how their own skills compare to a job they're interested in. So if they're interested in nursing, for example, it will bring up the different skills that are needed for that particular job, and then they can look at their own and see where there are skills perhaps that they might want to develop further. As mentioned, it's really made simple for students to then use the skills profile to support them with applying for a job. So they can use those examples in lots of different ways. So in terms of exploring options, as mentioned, we've sort of separated it out so students can look at the options that are relevant for their particular age. So students can look at jobs or pathways related to post-16 or post-18. If they know that they're interested in looking at future jobs, there are lots of different ways they can search for jobs directly through the job section. So they can search for jobs using a specific job title. They can look at job sectors. As mentioned, they can look at the jobs via values or subject or green jobs. When they open up a job sector, this allows them to look at a whole range of different job profiles within that job sector. And each of the job profiles gives them lots of information about that particular job in terms of useful LMI. So they can find out what the salary range could be, whether that job is set to grow or decline. They can look at their day-to-day tasks that they would potentially be doing if they were to do that job. And really importantly, looking at what the different routes are into that job and the entry requirements to getting there. We've also added some new LMI over the last year, so you can students can have a look to see how many people are currently working in that job by region across the UK, and also look at live job vacancies, which is really great to get a flavour of what those actual jobs look like and the different employers that are out there. Students can also search for courses or apprenticeships, so they can do that through the courses at the top. And they can look at degree courses and apprenticeship vacancies, and there are links straight through to find out further details from other websites outside of Careerpilot. So it's all there for them to access. And they can also have a look at qualifications as well in terms of the qualifications they're studying now and where they might like to go in the future, and to plot that on a qualifications ladder. This is really helpful for understanding what level they're at and what level they might like to work towards. So then the third part of the site is about planning their next steps. So one of the very useful tools on here has been able to set action points that the student can set, or they can set whilst working in a supported session. They can see that within their career tools, and you as a school can also access that through the reporting zone. So for the student, As they're using Careerpilot, they're building up their career tools section so they can access lots of information when they come back into the site about things that they've been interested in, skills they've identified, job sectors that they want to explore further. That's all being saved for them in their career tools. And also, as I mentioned, they can also access any report that's been written as a follow-up to personal guidance sessions as well. So they can access that directly from the career tools. Now looking at the advisor zone. So this is the section of Careerpilot that's open to schools to download resources to use with students as part of the careers plan. So there are career lessons for every year group that can be accessed through the advisor zone. So these have been designed to work across 5 weeks worth of sessions, but they can be used just as a standalone if you use lesson 1 of the programme. They've all been mapped to the CDI framework as well and feature the skills from the Skills Builder framework. And we've also identified the Gatsby benchmarks that they support. We also have activities and resources that can be used in tutor time and PSHE. So there's a short video that can be accessed from the Careerpilot website, which helps students to think about how to get ready for their future career. We've also got lots of hot jobs resources, so posters and activities and images that can be used by staff to share with their students, as well as short activities that can be used in tutor time, and subject-specific resources which give subject teachers some pointers on how they can make the reference to careers within their particular subject. So these are some really useful resources with links through to relevant videos of people talking about jobs related to specific subjects. So to access all of those resources I've just mentioned there, you do need to have access to the reporting zone set up. This, for free to use schools, it just requires a data sharing agreement. So you just need to make sure that you've contacted Careerpilot to make sure that you've set that up, and that allows you to have full access to everything that's within the advisor zone and also access to the reporting zone. But you do need to have that data sharing agreement completed. This will all be set up for those schools outside of the free to use area as part of your subscription. So once that is set up in the reporting zone, you will then be able to access the data that's being generated by your students using Careerpilot. So this can all be seen from the admin dashboard, and you can also then go into the student site or into the advisor zone from here. So you can run off reports from the reporting zone. You can look at groups or individuals. You might like to look at the job sector choices of your students, which could be really useful in thinking about employer encounters and planning work experience. If you know you've got a particular group of students in year 10 that are interested in construction, for example, it would help with your planning. Equally, you can use the reports to have a look at the tasks that have been completed by students as a way of monitoring the activities that have taken place across the school. So lots of different ways that you can use the reports to support your careers planning. Then I also mentioned as well that we have a parent zone. So the parent zone has been designed to support your parent and carer community, and has been designed to answer some of the questions that often come up from parents that they want more information about to support their young people. So we're supporting them with questions around their choices at 16 and their choices at 18 in particular. So lots of information there on student finance, on explaining what T-levels are, lots of those questions that parents will want more information on. So it's a really great resource to share with your parent community. So finally, I'm just going to give you a whistle-stop tour of the Careerpilot Pathway Planner tool. As mentioned, this is available to purchase as an add-on. So this any school can access this for a small fee. And once you've got the Pathway Planner set up, you can use it to support those post-16 and post-18 options. So it starts with a bespoke lesson that's been designed to introduce either your year 11s or your year 12s to the pathways and choices that they have in terms of their options coming up. It will then give them the opportunity to complete a quiz where they can find out, where they can identify the pathways they're interested in, and then take part in a quiz to answer some questions to work out how much they know about each of those pathways. So, for example, the pathways at 18, they will identify which ones they're either definitely interested in, they're considering, or not doing. There is a college version as well. And then for those pathways that they're definite about or they're considering, they then complete the quiz. So that will ask them a set of questions to work out how much they know about that particular pathway in order to be able to make an informed decision. This then gives them a RAG rating that shows how ready they are to make a decision on their pathways. So looking at this as an example, so this particular student's considering employment, it's showing green, so they know lots about that. They've obviously done some research themselves into that particular pathway. They're definitely interested in vocational qualifications, but there are some gaps in their understanding. Perhaps they need to know more about T-levels, or that there may be some specific bits of information that they need. And they're also considering apprenticeships, but there are significant gaps there because it's showing as red. So they obviously need a lot more information, perhaps to find out about how to apply for apprenticeships or to search for apprenticeships. So this then allows you as a school to plan the level of guidance that will meet the needs of the students. So you can book the guidance sessions directly from here, from in the reporting zone, which will send an invitation to the students. And based on the information that you have now, so you know what pathways they're interested in, how much they know about those pathways, you can then work out what level of guidance you want to offer to those students. So it could be that you need to offer them the full hours guidance session if they have particular needs that you need to cover off. It might be that you just offer them a drop-in session. If you're offering, particularly, you might do a group session where you're going to cover off some information about apprenticeships, and then you offer everybody that's showing up as needing some more information about apprenticeships. You might invite them to a group session. So there are different ways that you can support the needs of your students using this information. You will then, after the careers guidance session, be logging how the students have moved on. So you can see from when they first did the quiz, you can see how, having had the careers guidance session, how they've moved on with their thinking, how they've narrowed down their choices of their pathways, and how they are better informed, hopefully, about the choices that they are making. So obviously it's a really great way to support that Gatsby 8 and meet the individual needs of your students. Now, if you have any questions at all about Careerpilot, the 4 zones, setting up reporting zone, or indeed about the pathway planner, you can get in touch with our Careerpilot helpline. You can see the phone number is there and the email address, and that is manned weekdays, term time. So do get in touch with us and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. I hope you found this useful. Thank you.